What's up, everybody? This is Mr. Saturn, and I have the one, the only Justin Watson.
What's up, guys?
So, man, wow. Where do I begin, bro? Your last fight. I mean, geez. I think you knocked them out. You made contact before the bell even rang, but I think it's they counted different behind the scenes. But, bro, when you went like this, I was pumped up. I felt like I was there. I was like, yeah. What'd you
Yeah,
feel when you knocked him out and you because I know you looked at him and then you're like walked away like a G. What went through
yeah,
your
man.
mind? What
That was, like the culmination of the whole game plan the whole time. I mean, we had backup game plans, obviously, but I knew I needed to go in there and make a big statement. So my goal going in there was first shot. I'm going to try to set the record for the fastest knockout. And it worked out perfect. I pictured all of it in my head: the slash in the throat, all that stuff. Just letting the crowd know it's over. He's not getting back up. So I had to give him a look just to make sure, and I saw the referee was like, "Nah, this is over." So I just turned to the crowd and said, "Nope, game
no?
over, baby."
It was clean, bro. It's like it's gonna be cemented in history, bro. That you can just take a picture of it like this.
Yeah, I
You
love
can
it.
make it a GIF, or a GIF.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell you
yeah.
call it.
It's on a couple T-shirts already. So
Oh, shoot, send me the link. Send me the link. I'd like to rock it when on to the next BKFC. Hopefully, when they come back
oh yeah,
to California.
oh yeah.
Did you get to meet your opponent prior, or did you know anything about him, or they just gave you a name?
Yeah, no, I knew of him. He's from the same region as I am. We both came up in the southeast. So he had a really good MMA record. He was 11-1 MMA pro, all finishes, 1-0 in BKFC, all first round finishes. So I knew he was a big prospect. It was in his hometown. They were kind of bringing me in just to make him look good, I think. And but as soon as I got the name, man, I knew I had been kind of have asked for this fight in MMA before, because I knew that I could do what I did, and I knew that I could, use what he's already done to propel myself. So yeah, yep, we kind of got into it a little bit backstage. He was making some comments and asking about when, where he needed to be for the press conference and stuff after the fight, and I was stopped him right there. I was like, "Bro, you're not getting invited to the press conference. You need to, wipe that out now." And he didn't like that very much, but I mean, I was just trying to tell him the truth.
I remember during you guys' face off in the weigh-ins, when you guys faced off, they kind of told you like, face the crowd, but you guys were locked in. Um, I try to imagine people when they do that, when they do a stare down, they're saying things in their mind, like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
speaking to them telepathically, I guess. Could you tell us maybe if you were saying something to him as you were staring him down?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's kind of about just the aura. You can feel their presence; they can feel your presence.
Yeah.
I think that I made it clear to him right then that this was not the fight that he should have accepted. Um, and I think when he got in my face and looked in my eyes, I mean, you're looking through their soul basically. You're looking to see every little bit, and you can see every little tremor that they make, every little quiver of the lip. And I knew when we faced off, I knew
Yeah.
I had sent a text message to a buddy like right after weigh-ins because he saw weigh-ins and text me and saying good luck and everything, and I was like, bro, keep don't blink because I'm telling you, I'm putting him out first punch. We're setting the record,
That's
and he screenshotted that and everything. So we got that screenshot out there where I called the shot 24 hours earlier. Plus, I'd been telling people for weeks leading up to it. My whole team knew exactly what I planned on doing when I got in there. And had it not worked, I mean, had that punch not landed, I would have beaten him anywhere else. I mean, we were more than ready to have the fight take place, but I knew that I needed to make a big statement, and that was what I came to do. And that was come hell or high water. That's what I was going to do.
right. That's right. I was about to say that too. I've heard fighters, specifically in UFC, that they in the interviews like they say, yeah. and the stare down, I know right then and there if I won or not. Because like you said, you can tell any little twitches or anything. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Man,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just that little bit, from that little bit, I knew that he was going to be just a second off the gate. So when we went, I knew that he was going to be a little bit timid. There was going to be something that he wasn't going to catch right there. So I just knew if I dove in, I would be able to connect. And I know that if I connect and if it's even partially flush, I mean, that punch landed at like 60%. If you watch it, he's kind of like moving away from it, and I kind of chased him down with it, but it doesn't really matter if I touch your jaw like that. It's not going to be easy to recover from.
cement hands, huh? Justin, cement hands.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, dude.
I got some. My hands are like the size of light
There you go.
heavyweights, so when they touch me, I mean it's covering a whole lot of
You're
surface
not
area.
playing, man. You're not playing. Yeah, man. For everybody watching, I know you know this man. You've seen this man. Fastest knockout, amazing knockout. He was smooth with it. He stepped in and bop, slept him, man. So Justin, my hat is almost off to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So how did you celebrate after your victory? What'd you do? What's your tradition? I guess.
Normally I guess my younger days I would have gone out on the town and enjoyed Atlanta, I guess. But man, just knowing what it did, I just went back to the hotel and literally didn't go to sleep all night. I just watched Instagram and Twitter blow
Yeah.
up. Thing just flew everywhere. Hours so. Um, it was wild, man. Just seeing like obviously that night Connor shared it on his Instagram, and then like a day or two later, 50 Cent shared it. So it,
Oh yeah, yeah. That's right.
yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, damn, dude. Fuck. I mean, I just picture if myself sometimes, man, what would I be doing? Honestly, I'd probably just relax and rest, man. I'd probably take a beating. Even if I won, I probably took a beating to get that one, that win.
Yeah, man, it was like I said, it was just I literally laid in bed in the hotel all night, just watching the comments come through. And I was really expecting a lot of hate and stuff, but 99.9% of everything was super positive. Going into that fight, he was a 9-1 favorite, walking to the cage, so or walking to the ring. So at that point, I don't know that I think that somebody was a who was it? When he fought
Yeah,
Chris
this last
Garcia.
one.
It was in Florida. It wasn't the last one, but the one before that in Florida. It was Chris Garcia and I can't remember the other guy's name, but that guy was a pretty big underdog. But before that, this was the biggest underdog victory in BKFC, as well as the fastest knockout in history. It was a huge moment for me. Just cementing myself and showing everybody where I'm supposed to be.
You were probably high the whole night from the excitement. The
Yeah,
electricity was still running through you.
yeah, for sure, man. It was there was no way, yeah, there was no way to sleep.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, dude. Hey, so how did you? Can you tell me how did you even? I mean, did you know BKFC? I mean, obviously you got into it, but how did you? What led you to fight bare knuckle?
So I came up in MMA. I started training MMA in probably 2009, 2010. And then started competing around 2011, 2012. Went for a while and then just had a kid, had to focus on life for a little while, so I took a break. And when I came back, I had been in the game for so long, it was just previously I'd been an amateur, but it was just like you know going in, I was either going to go back in as an amateur and fight a pro level guy, as an amateur, or go pro and fight the same level guy. So I just went pro, and MMA. My grappling has never been that good, so that's always been my biggest weak point, and it was exploited. And so when I saw bare knuckle, I just knew, it was right up my alley. The brutality of it, and with the power that I possess, I just knew that I was going to fit right in. And yeah, just chomping at the bits, And this was my third fight. And the first couple, my first one I got beat by a better opponent. I had a rough weight cut, and just didn't wasn't able to my chin just wasn't able to hold up. And then in my next fight, I dislocated my collarbone. Like 10 seconds into the fight, we clashed up, and my collarbone got dislocated, and I was still trying to fight through, but the referee stopped the fight. So this was my first one where I was like, okay, the bugs are out of the way. The little problems have happened. Now it's time to settle in. And I felt right at home. And but as soon as I got to Atlanta, I knew I already saw the future. I knew that we were going to make something spectacular happen.
You hear that, David Feldman? Wherever you are, bro, you're listening to this. We need to see some more. We need more.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. I'm pumping at the bits, man. I think at this point I want something big. I'm an older guy, um,
Go
and
hard. Go hard.
yeah, and so like with this monumental um, moment, and the rise and I wouldn't say fame, I guess, but just the notoriety of it. I want something big, man, and I've been pushing for like one of these influencers or something that's trying to come over and talk, and so that's what we're pushing for real hard. But you know, just waiting for the phone to ring, man. It's been crickets. There's not a lot of guys that are chomping at the bits to get in there. It doesn't seem like.
I was gonna ask, do you have somebody in mind within the company, that you maybe want to test yourself
Um,
with?
Not necessarily within the company. I was going off on Little Pump for a little while because he's been at a lot of the shows in Florida. A lot of his guys he hangs out with and stuff, and so he's getting in the ring and like taking pictures and stuff. So I was like, hey man, let's the opportunity for you to get in there, but he didn't seem to want it. It's been crickets from him. I had one guy
Yeah.
recently that is in the BKFC that messaged me and was trying to get it in. And so passed the word along to the guys at BKFC and haven't heard anything back from them yet. But I'd love to get on that Sturgis card. We kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really what my eyes on right now. That's August, and I've got a couple injuries that I've been dealing with that I'm trying to get worked out, and so that kind of fits perfectly into that timeline. And so yeah, that's what I really want. It's going to be the biggest crowd at a bare knuckle event in history. I think there's going to be well over 40,000 people there. It's the 85th anniversary of Sturgis Bike Rally. It's going to be a massive event. And what better way to cap it off than have the guy who has the fastest knockout in combat sports history up there in the co-main event or in the feature bout.
Definitely put that in the promo. And they just, yeah, Sturgis. I
Yeah,
want to save for Sturgis, bro. And you know what? I'm gonna push for it too. I want to push
yeah.
to
I mean,
see. I mean, I'm nobody, but I'm gonna see. I'm just gonna keep posting so that we can get you in Sturgis.
yeah, I mean it's wild to me. It sells itself. I think that right now I'm the easiest thing to market in the company. I don't know. I don't know how. You know, I've kind of done their job for them. They literally just play the replay, and that's it. They just have to say a couple words, and everybody's gonna be paying attention. Um, but I don't know. Maybe they're looking for the right opponent. Obviously, I want to. I don't want to. I didn't get paid what I felt like I should have gotten paid off this last one. So maybe they're trying to find something that where they can compensate me a little bit better. And I'm fine with that too. But we're probably 5 6 months in now, so I could have already fought once or twice. So I'm getting anxious, getting ready to ready to get back in there, man.
Respects for being humble too. And being positive. Get it, man. Sometimes you're waiting around for anything to come by that you're expecting, and you get anxious, and sometimes you might say something that that might keep that blessing from coming down, but you're remaining positive, and respects.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not closed off to just being with BKFC. Like at this point, I'm 38 years old, so BKFC is where I want to be. It's the biggest platform out there right now. But you know, I've only got a couple years left. If I have 5 6 years left, that's probably pushing it. So I can't just be sitting around waiting and fighting once a year. If I could find somewhere where I can go and fight 3 or 4 times a year and actually make a living, then I would I would be interested in jumping on that too. But BKFC is where I want to be. And I just want to be able to fight regularly and be able to provide for myself off of that. You know, I mean, we're going in there putting our lives on the line, risking everything to make less than a month's pay. Like that doesn't make sense to anybody. You know, and, before this accolade, I just had to do it. You know, it is what it is. I wanted to fight. I wanted the exposure, but now I've made a name for myself, and I've done something that nobody else has ever done. And I think that I should be able to. I should be able to just train and fight and be able to survive. You know, I'm not trying to be rich and not trying to make $100,000 a fight or nothing like that. But I should be able to make a living wage in the year competing. I feel like, especially for a promotion like this, such a big promotion, and you know the amount of attention that I brought to the promotion is unquestionable. It's like I feel like they definitely, if it were me, if I were in that position, I would be jumping all over a guy who brought me that kind of promotion. I did bigger numbers than the entire Knucklemania card. Like the top three fights were all like former UFC fighters and champions, and I did better numbers than all three of those fights combined. And they spent who knows how much on those fights. You know what I'm saying? But off me, they got it for basically nothing. So Um, I feel like it's time to get a little payback. But I'm more than willing to go in there and fight for my money. It's not. I'm not trying to get anything for free or any handouts. I'll fight anybody in the world, and I'm willing to go out there and prove myself anytime.
You actually touched on something very true. People who have never, there's still a lot of people out there who probably passively saw a BKFC little picture or whatever, but I'm pretty sure because of you and how viral that knockout went, people who weren't too savvy on the sport were like, "Whoa, hold on, let me check this out." Like I'm pretty sure, I can't put it into words, but you brought new faces to the sport. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Like just bringing it into the consciousness of like 50 Cent has never posted anything about BKFC before, and he has tens of millions of followers. So most of them probably haven't either, but they all
yeah,
saw it then. And the advertisement I think is invaluable. The amount of advertisement that they already got, and I kind of feel like they're missing out on a ton more right now because they're not pushing me, in these other ways. I feel like they should be bringing me to events and introducing me to people, and making me kind of one of the faces of the company, um, and it would do nothing but lift their ceiling.
yeah.
Um, but for whatever reason, it's not. They don't see it the same way I do, I guess. But um,
Something's brewing, bro. Something's brewing.
and eventually, I'm not. There's not gonna be anything anybody can say. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna do the same thing again. I'm gonna go out there and have a phenomenal finish. I'm gonna beat up somebody that nobody thought I could beat up, and I'm gonna do it very impressively. And there's not gonna be any denying me. I'm not gonna allow it to be something that can be even done. I'm gonna make sure that I capitalize on everything. I'm playing this thing smart. I have had little offers here and there to just go jump on and take a fight, but what's it mean at this point? If I go fight somebody, I go fight the number three guy in the world for $4,000 and risk all the things that I've already done.
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
yeah. You
So
can get hurt, and it can mess up what your
yeah,
goal is. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It makes no sense. So
anything can happen. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I'm 100% down to go fight top five in the world, but not for $4,000. You know what I'm saying? So
No.
um, it just doesn't make sense. I can't take off 2 months of work, 3 months of work to train for a fight, and then make less than a month's worth of pay. Just financially, obviously, it doesn't make any sense. I have a family, and so they come first. I have to provide for them, and this is the best way I think I could provide for them is making it here. But we're not going to stop. We're not slowing down. We're going to push and push and push until the end, and eventually we're going to break through. And it's going to all pay off.
Yeah, we will. You definitely will, bro. I remember I did tag you, or I commented on your comment. Nelson Lopez was at a BYB in Mexico, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah. So I'm
mean,
pretty close with Nelson. We've been talking a lot since all this has happened, and yeah, he's with BKB now.
or
Doing
BKB, sorry.
Yeah, he's kind of doing his own thing. He started the Global Combat Collective and Trigon Combat, and with Trigon, they're going to be doing basically using the Trigon that BKB uses, and they're going to be doing boxing in there, as well as I think they're going to do some MMA maybe, and some bare knuckle stuff. So they're just going to be opening it up. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw, but they're actually doing the next Deontay Wilder fight.
Oh, sh-
Nelson, yeah, Nelson's booked that fight, and it's Trigon Combat. Nelson Lopez and Josh Chassis um, are doing that show. So those guys are doing massive things too, man. Like, you know, I've told Nelson, you find somebody that find me a celebrity boxing
yeah.
match, dude. Throw me on one of those cards.
Hell yeah.
He's been all through that stuff. He was in there with Jake Paul when Jake was getting started. So
Jake Paul.
um, he has all the connections. He has all the connections. He can make it happen. So, um, yeah, I'm a big fan of Nelson Lopez, man. That's one of the guys that from day one in BKFC, he we met and he never acted like he didn't know who I was, or he always made a point to say hello, talk to me. Made it very obvious that he knew exactly who I was, and um, he's just somebody who I think takes care of the fighters, and he really looks out for them. So that's somebody I would also definitely
Yeah,
love to work
Nelson
with.
actually kind of surprised me one day when I always assume people who are a part of showbiz and are high up there. I assume, and I know it's a mistake, that they're a little cocky, and things like that. And I actually met him when they came down to BKFC here in Long Beach, and I went into the to the
Mhm.
um, to the weigh-ins. I was there for the weigh-ins, and I saw him get out of the car, and I was nervous. I always get starstruck, so I was nervous, and he noticed me. He's like, "Hey, I'm Hector, whatever, Mr. Saturn online. We've commented back and forth on whatever picture."
Mhm.
And he's like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And then it's like, chat for a little bit, and then he's like, "Hey, man, can I go in with you?" He's like, "Yeah, man, come on in. Come with me. You're with us. You're with us." And I was like, "Oh, damn, I shouldn't have judged. So I
Yeah,
shouldn't have judged him." So, yeah, he just came off as just like you described him, man. Like just a kind and he's a good person. He's a cool guy. Nelson, shout out, bro.
yeah,
Shout out.
yeah. He's a very
Yeah,
selfless dude. He's been in the game for a really long time, and he's seen everything from top to bottom, and he knows how to do things the right way. And the biggest thing that that sets him apart from other people is that he knows that without the athletes
that's
there
right.
is no sport. So if you're not taking care of the athletes, you're not going to make it too long. And so that's something that those guys are really pushing hard, and it's awesome to see, man. I mean, they're changing guys' lives all the time.
Hey Nelson, my man just wants to fight. So, yeah, he just wants to fight. Let's get something going. I mean, I want to see Justin fight again, all right? I'm pretty sure everybody who's watching this wants to see Justin.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many people that know my name that don't want to see me back in there, whether it be to find out if I fall flat on my face or to find out if I,
Yeah,
can and not. And I'm cool with that because I know exactly where we're going. We're going
right,
to the top, baby. We're not falling. So,
right.
um, come watch the show.
Oh man. Okay, so we got a little bit of fight talk. I want to get to know you a little better. Can you tell me? So you grew up where?
Sevier County, Tennessee, like Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge. I don't know if you've ever heard of those areas. But yeah, just like in the
South.
South.
So what was it like growing up? Did you always like fighting, or were you a school scrapper? Or
Yeah, man, I don't know what it was about where I grew up, but it was like every day somebody
yeah,
was fighting in class. It was like the whole thing. It was just like a normal activity. Somebody was getting into a fist fight, and normally I was that person. So it's kind of always just been, I've always been a smaller dude, and not really one to take a lot of crap. Like, people have tried to pick on me, and I'm just not about that. And I've always been the guy. Yeah, and I've always been the guy that stands up for everybody else. If you're trying to, I was always kind of the bully to the bully.
right.
Which was weird because I was like the little dude that shouldn't have been that. I should have been the one getting picked on, but I was the one that was striking fear in the bully's eyes because I was the only one that was going to stand up. And that's all you have to do to those guys. I mean, 99% of them can't back anything up. They're just barking and barking. And then when you stand up and bust them in the mouth one time, they turn that barking into a whimper and take off running.
That's right. That's right. Did you picture yourself fighting, training, MMA, all that stuff?
Yeah, it was always something I wanted to do as a child. I begged and begged my parents to put me in kickboxing. And at the time, there wasn't really anything around my area um, to do it at. I guess it wasn't a big thing, and they, I was already getting in trouble for fighting all the time. So
As well.
I think in their eyes, they thought, "Oh, let's teach him how to fight so he can just do it more." That's not a good
Yeah.
idea. But really, when you get kids who are tend to be violent and have a violent nature, if you put them in these places where they have this outlet, I mean, I would have been able to go and get that release every day. And so you see kids coming to the gym that are going down a bad path and have some anger issues and stuff like that, but the gym just totally flips it around, and it gives them an outlet to really put that anger towards, and they're learning something at the same time, and getting in shape and staying healthy. And so I think, had they known about all that stuff, things would be a lot different. Obviously, I was, a grown adult before I ever stepped foot into a gym, but I already had natural abilities. And had I been honing those since I was 12, 13 years old, we'd be sitting in a whole different world right now. But everything happens for a reason, and we're here now, and it's time to blow the roof off.
Do you have any siblings?
I have a brother, yeah, one little brother. I
Your
have
little
one little
brother?
brother and three sisters actually.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. Okay. Did you find yourself have to defend your sisters a lot?
I didn't really grow up with my sisters. I actually didn't meet them until I was an adult, but there was a lot from my brother. My brother was younger and smaller, and he was not a you know not really an athletic. He was a really smart kid. He was, he could do anything he wanted, but he just didn't have that desire to get into, confrontations with people. So he was easy to push over. People would try to take advantage of him, and so yeah, there was a lot of that. Growing up, there was a whole lot of that.
Big brother to the rescue.
Yeah, and it was not only with my little brother, but all my friends too. It's just like there was just something that clicks in my head. Like if you go after one of my friends, I just freak out and I just dart right in. I can't. If there's gonna be a fight, it's gonna be me, not my friend. My friend's gonna. I'll take the battle. You go sit to the side.
Mm,
Um, it was always that protective instinct. I think and it was just out of not having the fear for it. Just knowing that worst case scenario, I'm gonna get beat up, and you know, it's not the end of the world for me, but for some people it might be. So um, I knew I could take it. So ultimately,
yeah.
I would rather I would rather take it for him.
Yeah. I was the person who thought it would probably be the end of the world. So. Actually, speaking about fear, did you ever feel what do you feel fear before you fight, or how do you what goes through your body, your head prior to a fight, leading up to a fight?
In the weeks before, every now and then you'll have just this a little bit of nervous energy, I guess. But I've also always had a severe anxiety and panic disorder, and so having that and dealing with that my whole life, knowing what I'm afraid of, what I have to face, that doesn't scare me. It's the unknown is kind of what has always gotten me. So it's been a really long time since I've had a fear walking into a fight. Um, and when I did, wasn't really about the fight. It was just about losing in front of people, and then the embarrassment of, what if I go out here and just get wrecked in front of all my family and friends. And that was what the fear was really. And then after I lost a few times and figured out again that it's not the end of the world, they're still going to love you, they're going to come support you. Then I wasn't afraid of that anymore, and that really the freeness that opened up was amazing. Now, I mean, the whole time in the back, I'm excited, happy. I can talk to people, and everything. I'm cool, calm, collected. And then when we go out there, man, my heart starts pumping, and I just light up, and I just get this euphoria just comes over me. It's like you walk out and you're looking at all these people screaming at you.
Yeah,
Amazing.
electricity, my friend, electricity.
Yeah, in this last one, this is the first time I've ever been like booed really hard, and but we were in his hometown, and he had tons of people there. It was all his team and like people that he trained with on the card. So even the people that didn't buy tickets directly from him, most of them were still supporting him. So walking out and just hearing the whole crowd booing me, and then I'm just listening to them. No, here in a second I'm gonna do this again, and y'all are gonna be
Yeah,
quiet.
yeah,
And as I slit the throat, and then I walked over to the crowd, and I was like,
that's
"They're
right.
not doing it now." They got quiet real fast. It
Yeah,
was it, it was wild seeing that contrast so fast, like from hearing the whole place booing me to the whole place going silent to the whole place.
roaring for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
as I'm walking through, everybody's coming up.
yeah.
They're like, "Man, that was my boy," but I got to give it to you. That was awesome.
I
So that
mean,
was pretty cool.
you won me over, bro. I hit you up like right after your fights. Matter of fact, because of you is where I learned, and I hope these fighters ain't watching these videos, but because of you, I've learned I need to. You guys automatically go to social media because you guys want to see how viral you go, and you start
Mhm.
checking Instagram. So I know now in the future to go and message people on interview right after their fights, and it's worked.
Yeah, I mean, especially like in the days after, in the 2 or 3 days after, once it starts making its rounds, then you're kind of getting inundated with it. But that first night, the next day, there's it's you're just still taking it all in, and there's not still only 4 or 5 people commenting like you. So it's yeah, that's definitely the way in is and because they know that there's been several guys that I've interviewed with that like they don't know anything about me, the sport, anything. They just saw a highlight and were like, "Oh, well, let's interview this guy." And that's not any fun. But like knowing like you were watching live, you knew exactly what happened, and so that makes it a whole lot easier to talk to somebody like that too.
So do you? You mentioned you have a family. Does your family ever watch you live for any of your fights?
Yeah, so this was the first BKFC fight that my mom and dad have been to. And my daughter hasn't been to a BKFC fight. She went to some of my MMA fights when she was younger, but now she's 13. We were trying to get her to go to this one, and it just didn't work out. But she's excited for the next one. She really wants to go next time, and she's watched them all live on TV, and so she knows what's happening. And her whole life she's been watching me doing this, and I've judged fights forever. She's been when she was 4 or 5 years old, sitting next to me in the judge's chair at
Nice.
MMA events, and so um, I think she gets a little bit scared, obviously, when it's me walking out there, um, but she knows I'm tough, and uh, ultimately, it's I'm gonna come home at the end of the day and give her a hug, and everything's gonna be all right.
Things all right. That's right. Do you picture her fighting in the future?
No, I don't think she'll ever be into it. I tried to get her to train. She doesn't have much of a desire to do it. She's more of a girly girl. She likes to cheer and do those kind of things, but she's not really interested in punching people in the face or breaking their arm.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I want to know what your sports or favorite sports teams are. Do you watch sports?
I don't. Outside of MMA and fighting, I really don't really watch anything.
Me too, brother. Me too.
Watch very little college football. Being from Tennessee, college football is big there. So I keep up with Tennessee college football, and I keep up with Tennessee's basketball, baseball team, everything a little bit, but I don't really watch the games. Uh, and couldn't tell you, half the players on the team. I just try to keep up with how they're doing every year.
I'm the same way, dude. I hang out with my sister and all her friends, and it's just Dodgers, Cowboys, and Lakers, and I'm just like, I'm just waiting for us to transition to fight combat
Yeah,
sports.
about it, man. I mean, those sports just don't do it for me anymore.
Yeah,
It's like this is the ultimate sport, and
yeah,
as far as mano to mano, like nothing else compares to it. And then you see, you watch pro basketball and football, and these guys are taking flops and falling down over just like nothing. And I just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't make me happy.
Especially soccer, bro.
But soccer and LeBron is just as bad as any soccer player out there. Like you'll literally package and like freak out. So yeah, I don't know. I just never. I don't like that. I like you know, if I'm watching basketball, I want to watch like Rucker Park. I want to see guys out there playing like real violent, aggressive ball. And
Yeah.
this new basketball is not really my style.
What's on your what's on your Instagram on your Spotify? What's the last thing you've heard on for music?
I think here lately I've been on kicking back on some Eminem.
Okay.
Uh, that's probably what you would find right now. Going back and forth between that and do you know who Dax is? He's like a rapper. Um, he's got a song out right now. It's him and the guy from Hootie and the Blowfish, Darius
Oh
Rucker,
yeah.
and it's called like it's about basically about being a man, like what it means to be a man, and what you go through and the struggles that you deal with and stuff like that. And that's a really good one. But Dax has a lot of other. He has several other ones that are really deep songs like that. That I've been listening to. That guy's really good.
I'm gonna check them out. I'm gonna check them out. What about your favorite foods, man? What is your go-to? What makes you feel like everything is okay?
Hibachi, man. Jap that when I got out of high school, probably I guess I was 19, 20. I started working at a Japanese steakhouse, and they opened one in my town, like just a little redneck town. They didn't have anything like that around, but I started working there and started living with all the Asians um, and all that stuff. And man, that was my life for a few years, was just being in that restaurant. So that's my go-to, has always been that. It's like that's my soul food.
Nice, nice, nice. So, would you say that was maybe one of your first jobs, or what was your first job?
Good job was actually Chick-fil-A. When I was 15. So I've had a job since I was, as soon as I could work. I have been working.
Yeah.
Um, and that was one of my first jobs out of high school. Though was at that restaurant.
Are you sick of it, or you kind of still like it?
Been in a restaurant now in a long time. So
Good.
I've been doing construction now for 15 years or something. But um, I wouldn't mind getting back into a restaurant. I think just for like a month or two, just to go enjoy. Like there's a whole life of the restaurant life is a unique thing in and of itself. That would be cool to experience again. Um, but yeah, I haven't worked in a restaurant in a really long time.
Um. Okay. So let's wrap this up, my friend. Is there something, and we're gonna speak to two specific people, and is there something you would like to tell? And we'll start with David Feldman right now. I'm gonna cut this out later and make it into a video. I'm gonna tag the shit out of him. Go for it.
Dave, I'm the easiest thing you have to market right now. All you have to do is play the highlight. You put my name against anybody on the roster, anybody in the world, you're gonna get millions of eyeballs. What are we waiting on, baby? Let's go. It's to the top.
That's right. That's right. All right. Now the other message is for Nelson, man. I mean, Nelson's cool. I know he's gonna hear it and watch this video.
Let's go, son. Trigon. They need a little warmonger in that triangle, baby. That area is going to be devastating when you put me in there with somebody. They're going to get hurt. So throw me in there, whether it be with gloves, without gloves, kicks, no kicks. I don't care. Let's just fight, baby. Let's fight.
All right. Is there any shout outs you want to give right now before we end the stream?
Man, I've got a ton of really good sponsors. They're all over my social media. If you go look, they've got links to all that stuff. So go check all them out. And shout out to my team, Rowan Wrestling Academy, AJ Cisco, Corey Henson. Those are my guys. They've been with me, through everything, thick and thin. And one of the best things about winning this fight was just being able to celebrate it with them, and us all being able to see all this work come to fruition. So yeah, man, shout out to all those guys, and for keeping me going, and pushing me hard every day, and giving me hell in the room, so that when I get in there to fight, It's all easy work.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Justin Watson with the fastest knockout in fight history. And we hope to see him fight soon, hopefully for Sturgis, because I would love to watch you live in Sturgis.
Be perfect, man. Be a perfect atmosphere for me.
Hell yeah, brother. You know, I'm going to be cheering my lungs out. Ryan Peterson knows, because when I saw him fight, I was, ah. All right, brother. Thank you so much, man, for doing this interview, man. I'm always gonna support you. I love supporting fighters. I appreciate you for your time, man. I know it's pretty late for you, brother.
Absolutely, brother. I'm here anytime you want to talk.
All right, my man. Well, you have yourself a good night, okay?
Have a good one. See you, boss.